Hi, my name is Emma.
Hi, my name is Xavier, and we would like to welcome you to Curious Conversations, a podcast for kids, by kids.
It's a podcast where we have conversations with adults and kids from all walks of life to learn about their passions and what inspires them, which we know will inspire us and hopefully inspire you too.
Why us, you might ask? Well, we love to ask questions. We are twins, and we just turned 11, and we have over a decade of experience being kids and having a point of view on many topics.
We thought a podcast would be a great way to learn something new and explore our interests in a different way, so we thought, why don't we give it a try?
On today's episode, we welcome Karma Ingle, General Manager at Mabel's Labels. Many of you probably have their super sticky labels in your shoes and clothes. I can't wait to hear Karma's story.
Xavier, which one of us do you think loses more things?
Not me. Well, maybe sometimes me, but that's okay. My mom has been putting Mabel's labels on everything since Jackson was small, so I find most things make their way back to me. Emma, can you tell us a little more about Karma?
As you mentioned, Xavier, Karma is the general manager at Mabel's Labels. For anyone who isn't familiar with Mabel's Labels, it's a leading company for durable, personalized kids' names labels. Karma is a trusted voice in marketing, with more than 25 years of experience. In her time at Mabel's Labels, she has doubled the business and been the driving force behind the company's growth. Outside of the office, Karma loves to travel, spend time with her family and friends, and is a mom to a 15-year-old boy who is a high-level skier.
Hi, Karma. Welcome.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
We're very good for the summer, or it's been long-waited, so.
I know. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long year at school this year, eh?
Yes. Ups and downs.
For sure.
So we would like to start at the beginning of your story, but first we would like to learn a little about marketing. How would you explain what marketing is to kids our age?
Oh, good question. So marketing is basically selling your product to anybody who doesn't know about it. So it's basically how people learn about different products out there, and you can teach people about why they would want the product. So what are the benefits to them? Why should they have this product at home or in their lives? How's it going to make their lives easier or better? So it's basically a way to sell a product to somebody who doesn't know about it.
Wow. You know, we're doing a unit on that next year in grade 6, so that's exciting.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yes.
You'll have to call me if you have any questions.
I will. I'll make sure to do that. All right. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in the Niagara region, so in a little town called Welland. There's not much there. And so I lived there for my first 17 years.
What was your favorite part of the place you grew up?
Good question. I had a really good little circle of friends. It was kind of a smaller town. So, I walked to school with all my friends and just lots to do in the summertime. Lots of fields and meadows and things to do in the summer and play. And back in those days, we would just go and spend a day just tooling around and hiking, and then we never came in until the streetlights came on.
Yeah, I can. We still do that, actually. We have friends down in our court.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot of kids in your neighborhood, which is so fun.
Since we love to read, what was your favorite author or book growing up, and why?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough question, you guys. But I did read when I was maybe about your age. I read a lot of the Judy Blume books, and they were all about, I don't know if you've read any of those books, but they were kind of age appropriate. So they were about kids our age and, different experiences that kids were going through at various ages and growing up and that sort of thing. So I think I read all of her books.
When I was in grade 3 or 2, I read Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing.
Yes.
I did it as a novel study in grade 4, so I couldn't really talk about the book without.
Yes.
And then I think I read Fudge-O-Mania
Yeah, they were fun books, and they maybe seemed a little outdated for you guys when you read them in grade 4. But for me, when I was in grade 4, they were exactly what was happening at the time. So they were really fun.
Now let's jump forward to your time in university. We have read that you have a master's in music. Where did you go to university, and what type of music did you study, and why?
So I started out, I did my undergraduate degree in music at McMaster. And then I went on to McGill to do a master's. So at McMaster, I specialized in flute. So I'm a flute player. And then I changed when I did my master's. I did a master's of musicology, which is basically the study of music history.
That's cool. My mom has her master's in history.
Really?
She does.
I didn't know that.
I play the trumpet. That's the instrument I wanted to pursue.
I know. That's a great instrument. And you guys are so lucky to be going to a school that really values instrumental music and lets you guys start playing so young. And so lucky to have Dr. C as your instructor because he's so good.
You know what I learned from Dr. C? So I play the saxophone, and the flute and the saxophone have the same fingerings, but just a different way to play the instrument with the mouth. So
that's right. Exactly. Yeah. And they're in a different key, right? The alto saxophone is, what is it, an E flat? Yeah. So and a flute is a C instrument.
Why didn't you pursue music? Because you do marketing now.
So interesting story, and this might have come up later in this interview, but interesting story. So after my first year of university, I got into a car accident. So I really injured my neck and shoulder. So it kind of prevented me from being able to practice and play my instrument enough to do it as a career. So I continued in my music program, and I played in the orchestra, and I did a bit of playing, but I really focused on history and theory. And then I did my history, my courses for my master's in history, music history. But there's not a lot of jobs, right? So I just kind of decided I probably wasn't going to be able to get a job in music. So that's where I ended up in marketing. So marketing was really kind of an interesting thing for me because I was still in a place with lots of creative people and that sort of thing. So it kind of fed my creative outlet. But yeah, I wasn't able to play my flute as much as I needed to in order to actually play it as a career.
So since your car accident, have you healed?
Yeah, pretty much. I still have if I'm going to get sore or if I'm really stressed, I get a lot of tension and kind of some discomfort in my neck and shoulders still. But yeah, for the most part, I've healed up. That was a long time ago, Xavier.
How did that lead you to marketing and Mabel's labels?
Okay, so after I finished at McGill, I moved to Waterloo. And I moved to Waterloo because that's where my best friend lived. And so that's how I ended up in Waterloo. And when I came to Waterloo, I got a job in an advertising agency. So that's where I started to learn a lot about marketing and just working with the people in the ad agency. And they were, there was some artists there, and there were some people that handled some of the accounts, so the clients, and they were working with the clients to figure out what they wanted to market and how they wanted to market their product and that sort of thing. So that was kind of my first exposure to marketing. So I spent a few years there, and then I went to another advertising agency that really specialized in pharmaceutical products. And then after I had my son, I was just doing some kind of contract work and freelance work. And my husband was doing some printing work for Mabel's Labels. And so that's how I became familiar with that company. And then when they needed somebody, I just got the job. So that's how I ended up at Mabel's Labels. Is I had done a couple of projects for them as a freelancer. And then when the job opened up there, then I went to work for them.
How would you describe what your job is today?
Okay, so today I'm not as involved in marketing because now I'm the general manager. So my job is to oversee the whole company. So I have somebody in marketing that I'm their boss. And then I also have people in customer service and the people who actually make the labels and our IT team. So everybody kind of reports up to me now. So I have less to do with marketing, but I'm running the whole business. So I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations of the business. And then I'm also responsible for thinking about the future of the business.
What is the favorite part of your job in being the general manager?
My favorite part, I think, is just being able to work with all of the people that I work with, because I have a really, really awesome team, and they make my job super fun. And I also just love the company, to be honest. Like, I love the product, and so it makes it really easy and fun to work when you actually like what you do and when you like the product that you're talking about. So I'm really lucky because I have a great team of people and a great company to work for. And I really like my job as the general manager. And I get to really, how should I say? As the leader of the company, I get to really be inspired by all the people around me. And I get to learn so much from everybody around me.
Let's talk more about Mabel's Labels, the company. So we read the founder story, and there's no Mabel. So where's the name come from?
Oh, that's a good question. I think when they were thinking of the name, they wanted to name it a person because they really wanted to build a personality for the brand. So, and I mean, Mabel and label, obviously it rhymes and it's cute together, and they thought it would be memorable. So they thought, people will hear that name and they'll remember it, and because it's cute and because it rhymes. And then we could start to build a whole personality around the name Mabel. So it's funny when you're out and about and you're talking about Mabel's Labels, everybody always asks, where did the name come from? Who's Mabel? Is there a Mabel? And I'm always like, no, there's no Mabel. But she has a personality of her own, and she's a teenager now. She's 18 years old, so she has a personality of her own.
So what is the story behind the first label design?
Another good question. You guys are tough question askers. So I think, now I wasn't around when the company first started. So I've been around for about 12 years, but like I said, the company's 18 years old. So I think the very first label designs were actually hand drawn by one of the ladies who founded the business. So there were a few really cute little black and white illustrations that she did of a train and a cow and a duck. And so those were the original designs. But we don't sell those anymore. But she hand drew the first ones. She's a really good artist. Yeah.
So leading into that, what is the most popular label and why?
One of the most popular, like the sizes, so the tiny ones that go in the tags of the clothing, we sell a lot of those ones. And I think it's because you can stick them in your clothes, and also because they're a really, really small size, so they fit onto a lot of different things.
Yeah, I can believe that. We have a lot of the shoe ones.
Yes.
We have the ones that fit like in the soles of your shoes, the little circle ones. I find them very helpful because more times than not, if I go to somewhere, they have the same shoe as me.
So. Yes, that happens a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that, like at a birthday party, and all the kids' shoes are at the front door, or they're
usually a very big party. But also, like, I especially lose a lot of clothes during school. So when we put it in the shirts, I usually always find them in the lost and found because I know they have my last name on it. So.
Yeah, it's perfect. I remember once too, Evan, my son, he had lost his belt at school, and it was gone for months and months. And then one day he was walking past the lost and found table, and there his belt was with his little label on it. So he's like, oh my gosh, I thought I lost that. And it had been gone for months. So that's how we got it back too.
So we'd like to know more about a label's journey. What happens between the time my mom clicks buy and when the labels are delivered to our doorstep?
Okay, that's a really good question, and it's actually really interesting because it's changed a lot over the years. So right now, how it works is your mom clicks buy, and then on our system, we see that order come through, and it's all taken care of automatically. So what we call it batch the label. So all the orders come in, and when we create one big file or a few big files of all of the orders, and then they automatically get sent to the printer. Somebody just clicks send to the printer and they get printed. And then somebody takes them off the printer and they get laminated, and then they get die cut, which means they get cut into the little shapes that the labels are. And then the last stage really is they go through another machine to cut them into the tile shapes, like the little rectangles that get sent out to you. So once they come out of that space and they're all printed and they're all cut out, then they go into another area of our facility, and somebody is able to see exactly what you've ordered, and then they package them all up, and then they put them in an envelope, and then somebody else takes them and they ship them out to you. So there's a bunch of different stages that are involved in the production, but it's pretty streamlined and it's pretty quick. So once your mom clicks and places her order, either that day or the next day, they'll get made and sent out. So
Wow.
It's pretty quick. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Mabel's labels are so quick, so it's never on back order. But if it were to happen, what is back order? What really happens?
So sometimes when it's really, really busy, we have taken a few extra days to get them out. So what happens is it's pretty quick to print them and to cut them, but then it's all of the packing, all of the orders that sometimes takes the longest. So sometimes I'll walk in and there'll be like racks of orders waiting to be packed up, but that doesn't happen too often. Because all the time we're working on our processes. So we try and make our processes more streamlined and quicker and more efficient. So we have a whole team of people in production that are always working to make everything more and more efficient.
Many people have asked this question a lot, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What has it been like running a company during COVID?
Oh, that's a good question because it's been so challenging the last 18 months. So I've only been running the company since October. So it's been a bit easier than the beginning of COVID. But at the beginning of COVID, it was pretty stressful because, we sell our labels because kids do things outside of the house. So they go to school or they go to summer camp or they go to sports or theater or whatever their interests are. So when COVID hit and everybody stopped doing things, all of a sudden people didn't need labels anymore. So at the beginning of COVID, we weren't very busy at all. So it was hard because, we have a whole team of people working at Mabel's Labels that needed to keep busy and needed to be working. So it was very stressful for the first few months, especially. But as things started to happen, I'm sure you remember in August of last year, then the government finally said, okay, the kids are going to go back to school. And then everybody started ordering their labels for school again. So
I bet now everyone needs more orders because I bet people are not used to having everything, so they'll need more labels.
That's right, exactly. And what else is good for our business is that people are starting to realize that they don't want their things to get mixed up because they don't want people, getting different germs or, if you grab the wrong water bottle and you get somebody else's germs. So people are ordering more and more labels right now, and especially in the United States because the United States is wide open. So lots of people in the States are, going a lot of places. They're starting to travel again and they're back to doing their sports and everything. So we're pretty busy this year, which is nice. So it was really last year, the first 6 months of the pandemic that were the hardest.
Yeah. Could you give us an example of a successful marketing campaign and an example of an unsuccessful marketing campaign?
Oh my goodness. You guys are asking tough questions. Of anyone, like any business?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Or Mabel's Labels, like.
Well, I think for Mabel's, it's changed over the years. So we used to only talk about items ending up in the lost and found. And then, of course, as times change and as things change in the world, you have to adapt and be, and change what we call our messaging. So our original message was about things ending up in the lost and found. And then as times have changed, and especially since COVID, we've had to change our messaging to be all about germs and avoiding mixing up items because of germs. So, our messaging is always changing and changing with the times. So our campaigns reflect that. So we do a lot of marketing on social media, and we do a lot of work with what are called influencers. So I don't know if you've heard of influencers, but those are people that like to talk about products and in a very natural way. So we'll work with moms, especially who have kids and who have a blog or a podcast like this, and they'll talk about our labels. So those are kind of some of the more successful things that we do for marketing. And then on the flip side, there's lots of examples out there of people who've done the wrong thing with marketing. So, especially with social media, because it's so quick and so easy to put something out on social media without really thinking about it sometimes.
So Mabel's Labels is a Canadian success story. So how do you encourage young Canadians to become entrepreneurs?
That's a good question.
And maybe first you could explain to people what entrepreneurs means.
Sure. Yeah. So an entrepreneur is somebody who just thinks up an idea and then builds a company or markets a product around that idea. So the ladies who started Mabel's Labels, they started it from nothing. So they came up with the idea. They had a bunch of kids, and they were always losing things, or they had, masking tape and Sharpie on their water bottles and that sort of thing. And they just thought there has to be a better way. So they thought up this idea, and then there was lots of research and around, what the best material is that was going to stick to everything. So being an entrepreneur really means like being able to think up an idea for something and then, making that idea come to life. And that's really an exciting part of the economy. All of these little small businesses and people who come up with these ideas makes everything more exciting. So, anybody is an entrepreneur that comes up with an idea, really, and then makes that idea happen.
How would you encourage people to be entrepreneurs?
Well, I think that if you have an idea and you really believe in that idea, and then you can talk to other people about that idea and try and figure out how you can bring that idea to life, I think. And I think that there's no stupid ideas. There's no dumb ideas. There's lots of great ideas people have out there. And there's lots of creative people out there. So I would just encourage anybody, look at yourselves. You guys are like entrepreneurs right now. So you dreamt up this idea for this podcast and you're making it happen. So you are an entrepreneur. So that's really exciting. So I would just encourage anybody, if they have an idea that they really believe in, to just try hard to make it happen. And that's what being an entrepreneur is all about.
That's awesome. Now we would like to take some time to ask some questions that are about you and not just your job. Who or what inspires you?
So I have a couple things to say. So obviously I have a lot of people at work that inspire me because I have a great team around me and they're all super smart and they teach me every day. And then I also think that my son, Evan, he really inspires me, especially over the last year. And all of you kids really inspire me because you've had to be so resilient and so kind of go with the flow with all of the changes with school and everything with the pandemic. So I really find that my kid inspires me because he's just been so strong and he's not afraid of anything and he's not afraid to try new things. So I always want to try and keep up with him. So I've got to push myself out of my comfort zone because that's what he does all the time.
So we're learning a lot in this pandemic, right? How do you continue to learn?
I learn in many ways. So I learn kind of the practical ways. I read a lot and I, watch the news and I read about the news, but I also learn from everybody around me. So like I said, I've got a bunch of smart people around me and they teach me things all the time. And I think I would never profess to know everything about everything especially with work. And so having smart people around me that teach me all about their areas of expertise, I learn a ton from them. And you know what? I learn a lot from Evan. He's 15 and he knows a lot of things that I don't know. He is learning stuff at school that I don't know about and he teaches me stuff all the time.
Yes, Jackson also teaches us a lot.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet he does. Yeah, he's a really smart kid.
So what was a time that you failed or something didn't work out? And what did you learn from it?
So I would say my car accident really taught me a lot because I had spent a lot of years practicing my flute and thinking about what I could do with music and really my goal was to play in a symphony after I finished university. And then after my car accident, that plan had to change. And it was really sad and it really affected me for a long time. But you have to pick yourself up and you have to figure out what else you're good at. So it really helped me to figure out, what else could I do? Because for so long I'd been thinking about playing my flute and playing music for the rest of my life. And so it really taught me to be resilient and that I was able to do other things. So when I started working in advertising, it was like a light bulb. I'm like, oh, I like this. I'm learning a lot and I like the environment of being around creative people. So it really taught me that there were other things that I could do. I didn't just because I was not able to play music anymore didn't mean that I couldn't have other things that I could do and find joy in.
That must have been really hard for you.
It was.
What do you think? Would your life have been different if the car accident didn't happen?
I think it would have been totally different. That's such a great question. It's kind of one of those things that you always think about, if I had made one decision differently, how different my life would have been. But because of my car accident, I ended up with the job that I had. And then through my job, I met my husband. And now I have, so my life is totally different than it would have been had I not had that car accident. And I think if I hadn't had the car accident, I hopefully would have been able to fulfill my dreams of, playing in a symphony orchestra and being a musician. But yeah, my life would have been totally different.
I can believe that.
So can I.
What is something on your bucket list?
Yeah, I think my biggest bucket list items are all around travel. So I really, really want to go and do a safari in Africa before all of those animals become extinct at some point. So I really think it would be amazing to be able to go to Africa and to be able to see lions and giraffes and that sort of thing. So that's my number one, I think.
So where is somewhere that isn't Africa that you would like to travel and why?
Oh, I would really like to go to the South Pacific. I'd really like to go to Tahiti or Bora Bora and stay in one of those huts that is over the ocean, and you can just jump in and swim around in the ocean. I would love to do that. And I'd also really like to go to Hawaii because I've never been to Hawaii before. There's so many places in the world that I'd like to travel to.
You said how your son inspires you, so Evan, he's friends with our big brother, Jackson, and Jackson plays AAA hockey, and we know Evan is a high-level skier. What is it like being a mother of a high-level skier?
It's very stressful because it's so dangerous and he skis so fast, and it scares me when he comes down the hill. And so, but he loves it. He has no fear. So he's confident, but I'm always at the bottom, just like so nervous. I'm almost crying because I'm so nervous that he's going to fall and hurt himself. But it's so exciting too, because those kids, they go so fast, and I'm always in awe of them and their skill. And I'm sure it's like how your mom feels about Jackson when he's playing hockey. He's just so good and just so impressive. And it's so cool to watch them develop and just advance in their skills and stuff.
Very fast sport.
Yes. So Evan has an app on his phone, and he's clocked himself going down the hill at over 90 kilometers an hour, which is almost as fast as you drive when you're on the highway.
That's crazy.
So it's very fast. I know. So it's scary. As his mom, it's very scary to watch.
Are you looking forward to the Olympics? If you could complete in a Olympic sport, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. So are we talking summer or winter?
Both. You could choose one from each, or you could just choose one.
I really, really love watching like the swimming and the diving and stuff like that. So I think I would like to be a swimmer if I could be. And then in the winter, well, I love watching the skiing events, obviously. But I also love things like bobsled. I think going on a bobsled would be really cool. Yeah.
They go super fast.
Yeah, they do.
And it's like on ice.
So
it's a
cool.
very interesting sport. I do like it. I do like watching it.
Yeah, but I love watching the Olympics. I can't wait till they're on this year.
Me too. Before we finish up, is there anything else you would like to ask us?
Well, I'm curious about what inspired you to start this podcast, because it's such a great idea. And you guys are so brave, and so your questions are hard. So you're not letting me off easy, but I really am curious to know why you started the podcast.
Well, it was fun brainstorming ideas for naming the podcast. We had so much different ideas. Ordinary, some equipment and making lists of who we might interview. Then the time came to actually start, and that was a bit scary because we've never really done anything like this. But the one video we watched said you just have to jump right in and start, or you might never do it. So our parents set everything up. We turned on the mics and started talking. It was amazing.
It's so great.
We also liked listening to podcasts, and our parents suggested it, so we looked into how to start one. Over lunch during remote learning, we kind of watched some videos about starting podcasts with our mom, and we did some research that there weren't too many podcasts for kids, so we thought, we want to show people, and there's so many interesting people we know and so many interesting stories. Why don't we just share it?
It's awesome. I've listened to your other 2 episodes, and you do such a good job. And I've learned so much from those two interviews that you've already done. So congratulations. It's so amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching it.
And I love podcasts myself. I think over the last year, especially, I've done a lot of walking since the pandemic hit. And so I walk outside and I put on a podcast, and it's just a great way to kill the time. And I do a lot of driving as well because I commute to work. And so I always listen to podcasts. So I think it's a really, really great idea. And I think you're right. There's not a lot of kids doing it. So that's really cool.
Well, we have one last question for you. What is your favorite podcast?
Oh, I listened to a podcast called The Armchair Expert with an actor.
Too.
Dax Shepard. Yeah. So that was the very first podcast I started listening to, and I love it. And then I also listened to a podcast with Katie Couric. And I don't know if you know who Katie Couric is, but she used to work on the Today Show, which is a television show, and she was a news anchor. And she's really, really interesting because she's interviewed just so many interesting people, politicians and just people in various walks of life and doctors and everything. So she's really, really interesting, and I really like listening to her. So you guys are doing a great job. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Really, it was very interesting.
Thank you so much.
We had so much fun.
Thank you for asking me. It was really fun for me too. And you guys stumped me on a few questions. So thanks again.
No problem. I hope you had a great time. We did.
I did. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. What a great interview. I don't know about you, Xavier, but I learned a lot.
Me too. I really didn't know much about what marketing was, and I loved hearing all about the steps it took to actually make a label.
I enjoyed hearing about all the different marketing campaigns and how Karma's accident led her to a marketing and a job she loves.
We just want to say that we love Mabel's labels. We have had them on everything for years. Our clothes, shoes, school supplies, sports stuff, and all of our overnight camp stuff.
Do you know the strangest place we've used labels? On a board game. One time at school, we were able to bring in our favorite board game for the class to play, and we didn't want the pieces to get mixed up with all the other board game pieces. Thank you for listening, and I know all the shows you're probably listening to say this, but please rate the podcast and download the episode, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That'll be in the show notes. And if you want to, just say hi to us in the comments, so we'll be sure to read them.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Curious Conversations.
Bye!